So welcome parents and fourth graders. We're so excited to have you today to our retreat. We've been talking this year about the works of mercy at these special times, these retreats where we have parents and families come and join us to have some faith, share our faith, and have some fellowship. And so we chose these works of mercy this year because the Pope has declared this year the year of mercy. So we're talking about works of mercy, and mercy is showing compassion towards somebody even if they don't deserve it. And so these works of mercy have been around for a long time in our Catholic tradition, and they actually, there's two different kinds that when we talk about mercy, these works of mercy that we talk about. One is the spiritual works of mercy. These are things that we can do with our heart. So these are things like comforting people and forgiving people and being patient with people. These are spiritual things that we do with our heart. And then there's the corporal works of mercy, and these are things that we can do with our hands. So giving drink to people, giving food to people, clothing the naked, visiting the captive, which is one we're going to talk about today, actually. So these works of mercy, they are simple things, but they are things that we're called to do because God showed us the ultimate act of mercy by giving us his son who died for us and came to show us how to love other people. So these works of mercy are things that we're called to do in response to that. And so it's great because even though they seem simple, they're actually big things in the eyes of God. And so I'm going to share with you a verse from the Bible that talks about this and how important these works of mercy are. So this is from Matthew 25. Then the king will say to those on his right, "Come, you who are blessed by my Father. Take your inheritance, the kingdom prepared for you since the creation of the world. For I was hungry, and you gave me something to eat. I was thirsty, and you gave me something to drink. I was a stranger, and you invited me in. I needed clothes, and you clothed me. I was sick, and you looked after me. I was in prison, and you came to visit me." And then the righteous will answer him, "Lord, when did we see you hungry and feed you, or thirsty and give you something to drink? When did we see you a stranger and invite you in, or needing clothes and clothe you? When did we see you sick or in prison and go to visit you?" And the king will reply, "I tell you the truth. Whatever you did for one of the least of these brothers of mine, you did for me." And that's what's so cool about these works of mercy is that when we do these simple things, we're actually doing them for Jesus. And so it's really cool that we can learn about doing these more. When we look at our parents, and we can see, who's really good at doing these things, these works of mercy, are your parents. And if you look at what they do at home for you all the time, how many times have they washed your clothes, right? How many times have they given you something to eat this past week? How many times have they prayed for you if you were sad or if you needed something? So our parents are good models for us of these works of mercy. And there's lots of ways that you also can do these works of mercy. And when we do that, it's like we build a bridge between us and another person, or even between us and God. So these are the bridges that we can build. All right, today we are actually going to talk about two different works of mercy. And one of them is the corporal work of mercy, and that is to visit the captive. Now I want you to think for a minute about people who are captive. Somebody or a creature who is captive is contained to one space. So everybody has a sheet with some questions on it, and I want you parents and children take a minute to talk about that first question. Who do you know that is captive or confined to a space, and how could you help them? So take a minute to just talk about that. Okay, so would anybody like to share? Yeah, Leah?
People in nursing homes.
Mm-hmm. And how can you help them?
We can visit them.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And actually, the fourth graders, you guys are going to have a really special opportunity to go visit them in a couple months coming up. We're going to be bringing some of the things we're making today to bring to them in the nursing home. So we're going to make some cool doves for them. All right, and we're going to be bringing them there. So cool. Yeah, great. So other thing, so that's the visit the sick, right? The work of mercy. We're talking about corporal works of mercy. The spiritual work of mercy that we're talking about today is one over here. There's actually a big word associated with this one called admonish the sinner. Admonish the sinner. And that's like super big word, but it actually just is a simple way of saying that is to advise or to encourage somebody. That's what admonish means. And so we're called, one of the works of mercy is to encourage other people. And so I want you to take a look at number 2 on your sheet. And it says, so admonish means to give friendly, earnest advice or encouragement to. We're called to be patient with people who sin and lead them by good example toward good choices. Can you guys think of a time when you did this maybe? When you were patient with somebody? Can you think of a time? Yeah.
Maybe with my sisters.
Okay, absolutely. We always need to be patient, right, with our siblings and in our families. Definitely a time when we need to do that. Okay, great. So there are 2 stories that we're going to talk about today that have to do with both of these works of mercy, actually. So visiting the captive and encouraging the sinner. And one of those stories is from the Old Testament and one is from the New Testament. So the Old Testament story we're talking about today is the one about Jonah. And you guys know Jonah, right? The guy with the big boat. But this is that he found himself on a boat, though, right? And he found himself in a very interesting place where he was captive. And do you know where that was? Yeah.
A whale.
The belly of a whale, exactly. And so he was actually called by God to go advise some sinners in Nineveh, right? And but he didn't want to go at first. And we're going to actually tell the story together in a fun way, okay? I'm going to give everybody one of these sheets of paper, and these all have a part of the story on it, all right? And what we're going to do is we're going to repeat. It's a repeat after me story, okay? So I'll do the first 2, and then we'll have you guys do them as well, okay? So it goes like this. Jonah told the people the words of the Lord. Talk, talk, talky, talk. Talk, talk, talky, talk.
Talk,
Talk, talky, talk. One day, God told him to take a message to his people Jonah didn't like. So Jonah ran away. Run, run, run away. Run, run, run away. Run, run, run away.
He got onto a boat. Float, float, floaty, float.
Float, float, floaty, float. Float, float, floaty, float.
and sailed away. Sail, sail, saily, sail.
Sail, sail, saily, sail. Sail, sail, saily, sail. Okay, so you guys heard that cool story about Jonah, and you know that he didn't want to go to Nineveh, right? But he ended up going. After he was in that belly of the whale, he still ended up going. He did follow God's will, right? And he ended up in Nineveh, and he tried to tell the people there what they were doing wrong. And so he was advising them. And that's part of this work of mercy that we're talking about. Now, one of the questions that you have on your sheet then is, Jonah didn't want to go to Nineveh to talk to the people who were sinning, but in the end, he does end up going. Have you ever tried to run from something that God wanted you to do? And what did you learn? Just take a minute and talk with your mom or dad about that and see what you can come up with. Okay, so what'd you guys come up with? Would you like to share? Anybody like to share?
Like making sure you obey your parents.
Right, definitely. There's always things that we don't want to do, but we know it's right. We know God wants us to do it. And so that's definitely something that we learn from this story, right? Mm-hmm. All right, and then there's another story that has to do with this work of mercy, with helping and encouraging the sinner. And that one we find in the New Testament. And that was about a woman who had sinned. And back then, okay, a long time ago, people who sinned, the punishment was really, really something horrible. And they actually would throw stones at people, okay, and hurt them. So this woman who had sinned, she had done something wrong, the people were just about to throw stones at her to help her, and Jesus actually steps in, and he helps them to see that they really shouldn't be doing this, right? That it's not the right thing. And so we're going to do something right now that where we're going to see what happened and why this wasn't a good thing, and also it's a little lesson in how we shouldn't judge each other. So what I want you to do is to roll up this piece of paper here. Okay, everybody has a piece of paper into like a ball. All right. And now you're going to, because let me ask you something. Have you ever had a time where you judged somebody else?
Mm-hmm.
Probably, right? We all do it. We're human. And so you probably had a time where you judged someone. And did you ever, when you judged that person, did they ever make you really mad?
Yeah.
Yeah. And you wanted to throw something at them probably, right?
Yeah.
All right. We're going to pretend right now that this little stick guy here, he's the person you're really mad at. So go ahead. And throw that piece of paper. Throw that stone. Go ahead. Throw that stone hard. Oh, wow. You guys have good aim. All right. Very good. So, now, of course, we shouldn't do this really, though, right? And just like they shouldn't have done it back in Jesus' time either. Why? Why shouldn't we do that?
Because we shouldn't.
Maria?
Sinning.
Okay.
We
Right.
shouldn't judge someone based on one mistake.
We shouldn't judge people. You're right, based on their mistakes. And do you want to know why? Look who's underneath this person. Right? Jesus is in each of us. He's in all of us. And so we're called to be, we really should try to be patient with each other and help each other and encourage each other, right? Because here's the other thing. I want you to take that piece of paper now, open it up, and write down a time where you sinned, where you did something wrong. Because I know myself, I could probably fill a whole notebook right now because we're human. We all do it. But write down one thing maybe in the past week that you can think of that maybe you did wrong. Just take a minute. All right. Now roll them back up again. Okay. All right. And so why else wouldn't you want to throw that stone right now? Why else?
Jesus.
Okay, we know Jesus is under there. But you know what Jesus said to them? He came over and he said, all right, whoever among you has not sinned, go ahead and throw the first stone at this woman, right? Well, wait a second. Could you really throw that?
No.
No, because what's on this piece of paper?
I missed.
What's on that piece of paper?
My sin.
Something that you did wrong, right? So
I
we've
missed.
all sinned. And so we can't judge others, right? Because we've all sinned. So we shouldn't throw the first stone. Exactly the point. Okay? So those are the two reasons. We've all sinned, and also everybody has Jesus inside them. And so we want to be patient and forgiving with people, right? All right. So those were our two works of mercy today that we saw in both of those stories, the two works of mercies, with visiting the captive. And in this case, with the woman, the story in the New Testament, the woman, she was like really held captive by her sin. And that's sometimes what we can do. That's why we need to forgive ourselves sometimes and forgive others. And that's what we're called to do, right? All right, and then the other one, visit the captive, we're also going today, like we said, we're going to be making those doves to bring to our friends at Heath Village, okay? So that's what we're going to be doing now. All right, great, so let's get to that.
Yay!